Welcome to this week's episode of Cooking with Connie. This week we have a shape-approved soup for you. So if you like the spinach artichoke dip at some of the restaurants, we've made a spinach artichoke chicken soup. So give you the same kind of flavors, but this is shape-approved, so there's no sugars, there are no oils, and we'll teach you kind of how to sub out some of the things to make your recipes that you already have, that they'll fit into the shape recipe world. So keep watching from start to finish, and this is going to be a yummy one. All right, so we're going to start with a shape-approved recipe. So everything we're doing in here is going to be sugar-free and have no oils in it. So when you do that, so the original recipe said to put some oil in here to saute your onions. Well, the easy fix for that is use your chicken broth. So we're going to put this whole thing in there, but we're going to use just a little bit when we start out to saute and make our onions soft and get our garlic kind of really fragrant before we start. So I've got my chopped onion, so it's a medium onion. We're going to put this in the skillet, or in the, I'm just using one pan. I'm thinking, you know what, we'll just do it all in this pan, our lovely Hexaclad pan. So we're going to saute that, and then we're going to put some garlic. So I've got my minced garlic here, which I need to get more. I'm getting low on my garlic. Alright, so we've got our garlic in there and our onions. And so what we'll do is we'll just saute this over a medium-high heat until it gets translucent. Then I'm going to add my chicken in there, and I want everything cooked before I start actually putting the soup together. That way you don't have to worry about how long you cook it afterwards, because you know that your chicken is cooked thoroughly through. So we will just work on this little process here, and then when we start throwing the rest of the stuff in there, we'll kind of go over the rest of the ingredients that we're putting in this recipe. All right, guys, so we've got our chicken, and we've got a little bit of broth in there, and our garlic, and our onion. So those are all nice and cooked. And now I'm going to start adding the rest of this thing of broth in there. Now, I really like this specific bone broth. It's got no salt added, so if you're on a low-sodium diet, it's a good way to watch the salt in it, because a lot of even the low-sodium is got still quite a bit of sodium in it. And this one has a little extra protein because it's a bone broth. So, which I think gives it a little more flavor too. Doesn't seem to want to go out of there very quickly. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start adding the rest of the stuff to here. So we have our artichokes. These were whole, and I got them chopped up. So we're going to throw those in. So this is just going to be a really super simple recipe, and the fact that you just throw it all together and then you just let it heat and let all those, with the soup, it's good to let everything just kind of meld together for a little bit. Get all those flavors. All right, so then I've got a bag of frozen spinach. You could also use fresh spinach if you wanted to. All right, and then I'm going to use a cup of cottage cheese, and as usual, I like to whip my cottage cheese in my NutriBullet before I add it. So then nobody even really knows there's cottage cheese in it, because there's no like little clumps or things to freak people out. So I think that's the trick with all these cottage cheese recipes, is the whipping part. And then you just get that nice flavor of the cottage cheese without all the other. All right. And then we've got a half a cup of Greek yogurt that we're going to put in here. So this is going to give us all this good creaminess. And then we have our Manchego cheese. So we're going to use a cup and a half of it. And I found I can still get the Manchego, I think, in the big block at Sam's Club. So I usually just try to keep that stocked up and then shred it and use it as we need it. It stays pretty good for a while. All right. And then we're going to put a half of a teaspoon of pepper in here. Maybe we will if I get the right opening here. So a little black pepper, and then we're going to use some of our Celtic sea salt. And again, if you're on a low sodium diet, just use a little bit. You can always salt later to taste. So I'm just going to grab some and kind of sprinkle it in there. And then I am going to add a little bit of red pepper flakes just to give it a little bit of a little extra flavor. And my husband happens to, he'll probably add more red pepper flakes to his. So we're just going to put just a little bit in there, not a whole lot. I don't like things super, super hot. All right, so then we're going to just stir all this stuff together. And we'll let it cook just over a medium heat. And let all those things just kind of intermingle, the cheese to melt, the cottage cheese, and everything to just kind of blend together to give us that nice creamy flavor for this soup. So we will be back when we get this finished, which it shouldn't be too long. All right, guys, so here is our finished product, this nice hearty soup. I've topped it with just a little extra manchego cheese on top. Going to be very flavorful. And for people that are on the shape, if you make a pot of this at the beginning of the week, there's lunch for the week. So remember, like, share, subscribe, Cooking with Connie. We're doing all kinds of gluten-free, sugar-free recipes and shape-approved recipes, which will let you know the ones that are. And you can look for the recipes in the comment section of this video. And this week, make some good choices out there, and we'll see you soon.